All right, we're going to go live. And I think we're live now. We are live. Hey guys, welcome to this great live Saturday afternoon. We're live with Black Nurses Week founder Tauqilla Manning. Bridget NP and I are going to sit and have a little chat, and we're all going to learn together about what Tauqilla's been doing and creating Black Nurses Week and where that organization's going, where she is directing it, some of the activities that are coming up, and just going to have a conversation here. And thanks for joining us. Make sure you, wherever you're watching this, you like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all the things, and leave a comment where you're watching this video from. And if this is the first time that you've seen us or one of our channels, wherever you're streaming, I think we might be streaming on some Instagram, some YouTubes, wherever you find us. So welcome, Bridget, and welcome Tauqilla.
Hi, happy Valentine's Day, ladies.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yes, indeed. I did share with Tauqilla that I came in at the last minute, the 11th hour, with a gift. And I got very lucky.
Everyone may not be so lucky to get those last minute gifts, but good for you, girl.
Yeah, can't come empty handed on Valentine's Day. So, yeah. But I don't know why I worked yesterday and it didn't occur to me, oh, it's Friday the 13th, right? And
yeah.
It was. Let me just say, if you know, if you work in a hospital, full moon, Friday the 13th, I don't know, all the things.
Mm-hmm. I definitely would have been sick yesterday. I would have been sick. I would have took a mental health day.
I should have taken that route had I had a crystal ball to know what I was walking into. So I work a mid shift. I work like 11 to 11:30, and I came into, I'm going to be charged and just not get any report or just not have a clue. But and it's all I will say. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm a nursing leader, but I do charge sometimes, which is not pretty. It's just like when people ugly run. When they run, it just looks ugly. Like that's how it is when I'm charge nurse. It's like ugly charge. It's just, I buy this. I always buy the staff snacks or lunch just to like ply them and like bribe them a little bit, like, and ask for forgiveness at the end of the shift. Like, sorry, it was me again. It's Friday. So that was how my day went. And then I had to stay like 4 more hours.
Oh, no, ma'am. No, it's a 16-hour shift. Oh, no. Jesus.
Yeah. I come in at 11. So I work till, I did stay till about midnight, a little after midnight, but yeah. So that's my day. And Bridget, how have you been? How was your week?
My week is busy. So, I'm teaching right now, and Monday through Thursday is just a blur, and I'm in school. So like as soon as we get off this, I have a project to submit. So it just feels like go, 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 go.
Yeah. And Tauqilla, how's your week been? How have you been? You've got some new digs, some new space.
Yeah, I have come back to Texas, which is where I'm from. I was out in California for a little bit over a year, probably a year and a half on an assignment. And after that assignment ended, I was like, I don't want to work. So I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor. I've moved. I've been doing manual labor. I broke all of my fingernails. And just like you said, Bridget, I'm in school. Let me tell you, I'm getting my MBA and I'm doing my capstone. And after I finish this, another school program will not see me in that capacity. Done and over with. No. So I have been somewhat busy as well. So I can relate to you, ladies. Life is busy. Busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all in school. Congratulations on that. I said the same thing after I completed my MBA, and here I am in a PMHNP program as Bridget. And I am saying it again. Like, I'm just too old, right? We know how old I am. So I just don't need to be collecting Social Security and trying to get a DNP or something, right?
So Tauqilla, I'm curious, you said you're pursuing an MBA. What motivated you to get an MBA, and how do you plan on utilizing that degree?
Oh, well, Bridget, you know what? That's actually a great question, and I appreciate you asking that. So this is my third time, okay, in grad school. In the first 2 times, I dropped out, proudly dropped out. I only was going to get my graduate degree because of my goals to work in senior leadership. But then after I learned that I can work in senior leadership just with my experience alone, especially in California, I didn't need a master's in anything. And so I dropped out twice. And so now that I've come back to Texas, Texas and California is a little bit different. I don't know why here in Texas they just go after education. I've sat in boardrooms with plenty of people with higher levels of education with very little experience. So anyways, I decided that, okay, let me just go get this master's degree intentionally in business so I could separate from nursing. Everything doesn't have to be in nursing for me because I have other businesses outside of nursing. But I did it so that when I go to apply for any job, no matter where it is, they do not get to tell me, oh, no, you don't qualify because you don't have a master's degree. Because they definitely can't tell me I don't qualify based on experience, because that's not true. And so that's the main reason I went and got this master's degree, so I can always have the opportunity to sit at whatever table that I want to sit at. And so I can be someone who is not afraid to speak up for whatever the case may be. And that's pretty much why I said, okay, 3rd time's the charm. Let me go get it, And so that's really the reason why I went to go get a master's degree. That's it.
And I think you pointed out a few important topics there, points that sometimes timing isn't right. And it's okay to take a step back and say, you know what, this is not the right thing for me right now. I can pursue it later. So just because you took a pause or you withdrew, it doesn't mean that you're forever putting a hold on your dreams and that you can pursue it at a later time. I also now, this is my 3rd, and the reason why I bring this up is because on social media, we always talk about everything we see on social media is usually the highlights. Like nobody ever talks about, oh, I dropped out or I did this. So I started, this is I think it's my 3rd time starting my psych program, because the first time I was starting, I got COVID and then I got really sick. I got POTS from it. So I just wasn't physically well enough. Second time I started, I got a really good job and it was paying really well. And I thought, well, why do I need to go back to school if it's going to pay in Florida the same amount that I'm earning with this job? But then I got laid off. So, so even if you delay your dreams or your goals, you can always revisit them at a later time.
Yep. There's this saying that says delayed, but not denied. So
that's right. That's right. And, we as nurses, we are always pursuing change and something new. We're innovators. We're recreating ourselves constantly. I call this, I didn't become an RN until I was 39, which is, I think, older than both of you are now. And I got to crack on myself. And here I call the PMHNP my retirement career. This is my hopefully final career change, but that's what I hope to go into my golden years, as we call them, in doing that. So, but yeah, it's never a wrong time. And I wanted to acknowledge, let me just, Dr. Look who's here.
Dr. Midwife, we miss you.
Formerly Mr. Midwife, talk about pursuing a dream.
Yes.
Dr. Midwife returned to school to get his doctorate, and congratulations. That was really amazing. So, we just keep inspiring each other to whatever it is, and it's taking those risks, and whether it's personal goals or professional goals, because in the end, if I look at it, okay, as an RN in California, I could have made exactly the same amount of money with my ADN as I make with all these other letters, right? And a union job. But there are other opportunities that do come up that it is great to have that master's degree of whatever you have. So yeah, it's opening doors, right? And certainly open doors for what I do now. Absolutely. 100%.
I just wanted to read out a comment real quick from my Instagram. So Angie, your psych NP said, absolutely. RN at 32, PMHNP 51, now 56 DNP student. Congrats, Angie.
Yep.
Awesome.
There is no age limit on pursuing any dream, any degree, any of that. It doesn't matter. I think when I did because I was an LVN first, when I did the LVN to RN transition, there was a lady in that transition program at the time, was like, she was 60 something, mid 60s. And she used to always say, I always thought I was too old. No, ma'am, you're not. No, you're never too old. If your brain still functions well, you're still, getting around in your right mind, all of that, you're still nursing. I don't care if you're 75. If you want to go back and get another degree, go back and do it. It doesn't matter.
And I think that's so true, and I think it really is true for nurses, because we can kind of just work till the end, right? I mean, I work in an environment, or have worked with 4 different generations, a grandparent, their daughter, and then that person's 2 sons, right? I mean, multi-generational workforce, but as well, I think it changes as we age. I remember being in my 20s, right, and thinking, oh man, I'm just too old to try and pursue a psychology doctorate, a PhD after I did my undergrad, and I'm too old at 27. And it's like,
I think that's a society's pressure on just the general public. Oh, you're supposed to go to high school, you're supposed to graduate, you're supposed to immediately go to college, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have kids, you're supposed to do all, they like have it all stacked out for everyone. And unfortunately, that doesn't work for everyone. And so if we remove the society pressures off of us as an individual person, you need to create your own timeline. You don't have to do what Adrian is doing. I don't have to do what Bridget is doing. I don't have to do what, Dr. Midwife is doing. No, everybody has their own timeline, and we can create our own timeline. Who cares what everybody else is doing? This is what I'm doing at this age. And I wish more people thought like that.
I love that. I really love that. I feel like that's a whole topic, right? That is so contemporary right now for anybody of any age, really, because I came up, I'm a Gen X, it was just mandatory. You're going to college, even though many of us in my friend group, were the first ones going to college. So we had no idea how to navigate any of it, right? We didn't know how to network. We didn't know how to pay for it. We just, there's so many things I did not know. And I just tripped and fell along the way, until I got into a different career at the age of 29, and then eventually said, oh, I want to be a nurse, and left that career and became an RN. But yeah, I love that we create our own timeline. I mean, that is, Tauqilla Manning is going to be a coach. She's going to be a life coach. This is her next endeavor. But sometimes we need to hear that, right? We need to know, hey, it's okay. It is just wherever you are at, financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, health-wise, whatever, situationally, that's a moment in time. It's not forever. And we are creating our own reality. So sometimes we got to ride through some rough patches, or questioning ourselves, imposter syndrome, all those things. But really, creating who we want to be and just living into that dream.
Yeah. You have one life, and you should, as an adult anyways, right? As an adult, you should be able to maneuver what you want that life to look like. No one should be saying, oh my God, you just graduated from school, you're 18, 19, you got to go to college. You got to go to college right now. Well, no, what if I want to go wild out for 2 years first before I go to college or whatever? That's your business. So it's like everybody has this idea of what your life should look like. And by the way, some of these people have ideas of what your life should look like. They need to go look at their own life. Their life is looking like shit. Go mind your own business and let me live my life. But anyways, like you said, that's a whole nother topic, but I just think people should live on their own timeline. Don't compare yourself to what other people are doing. Don't let other people tell you how to live your life, especially if they're not financing it. Like, no, go do your own thing. Go create your own, your only life that you have. Go create it and let it look like how you want it to look.
Yeah, that's so right on. Talk about wilding. Yeah, I didn't stop wilding till I was like 35. So anyways, that's a whole other topic. I needed like the extended wilding session and timeline. Yeah, But look, I aged well through it all. So, anyways, I love what you're saying, Tauqilla, and I think that's why I always felt like really connected to you, because I just always said to myself, well, here's somebody who just seems so authentic and real and kind and genuine and just an honest, like, genuine person. And so, leaning into that, let's talk about you creating something that is really important that you've brought forward to the nursing world, Black Nurses Week. Let's talk a little bit about that. Is that okay? Can we switch gears?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, or a lot, maybe a little bit about your own history, but then what led to, hey, I'm going to start this thing.
Okay. So last year was year 20 for me in nursing. I started, I would consider young, but nursing actually wasn't my first thing. Like when I went to college to be a computer engineer, but I switched to nursing. A lot of people don't know that. I thought that I was going to, build websites and all this stuff. And I got in those classes and it was this, like I was looking at all these computers, except there was nobody to talk to. And I'm like, well, isn't this shit boring? This is so boring. Like, where is everybody? Who am I supposed to talk to? I'm like trying to do all these, I don't even know what it was called, all this programming and stuff. It just wasn't for me. So as I grew up, I'm from the deep South. I guess you can say I'm from East Texas, dirt roads and pine trees. And in our family, when the elders get sick, they do not go to a nursing home. We take care of them, or we took care of them at home. So like my great-great-grandmother, as she aged, we had like the hospital beds and the rocking chair next to it. And we're cleaning her and cooking for her and all that stuff, bathing her. And so I was helping my mom and my aunts do all of these things. And then we had family members who had mental health issues. Like, no, we're doing all this. Nobody goes to an institution. Everything is managed at home. And so as I thought of that, I'm like, you can get paid for this? Okay, cool. So I went and got my CNA license and I just loved it. Let me tell you, you stop me because, I can go so many different ways. As a CNA, to go in and take care of an elderly person who has not seen their children or anybody. It's just like they get up every day, same routine and all of that. Nobody's coming to see them. Me and some of the other ladies that I still know to this day, we had curling irons, we had makeup, we had all the things. We're doing hair, we're getting them all dolled up, putting them on lipstick. We're going to play bingo, all the things. So that just brought a lot of satisfaction to me. But then as I'm working in nursing homes and as a CNA, I also know, okay, a med aid, oh, you get to pass out meds? Girl, I'm breaking my back getting these people up every morning for breakfast and back down and up for lunch. And you're walking around, don't look like your back hurt. So I went back to get my medication aid certification. And when I started doing that, let me tell you, it took so much pressure and heaviness off my body, even though I still, filled in and worked extra as a CNA. But that was such a huge difference at that time. I don't even know if they still use medication aids now. And so when I was doing that, then I'm like kind of seeing what the LVNs are doing. And I'm like, well, hell, I can do that too. So I went back to school and I got my LVN license. And so I started doing that. And then I just kept going. And I did the transition for the LVN to RN. And it's just every time I worked in an environment, I'm like, I can do that. And then I may have seen some people I didn't like how they were doing it. And then they didn't want to hear me because I'm lower on the totem pole than them. So I went back, and did that. And so that's really how I like to tell people I started from the bottom. I was a CNA med aid. I worked my way up. And then I got my bachelor's degree. Obviously, I never stepped foot on the campus. It was just a bunch of busy work, in a program. And so that's how I started nursing. Now, I can't remember how long I was a nurse, at least 4 or 5 years before I started traveling. And I had worked all the things. I would say I worked long-term care. I had worked in the ER. That was my jam. I was a trauma junkie. I like, getting all the craziness, coming in, figuring out, patching them up. Bye. Next. Who's next? And so that's why I got most of my experience. But then I went in the flow pool and I worked CVICU. I worked pain clinics, PACU. So I have a variety of experience. And then some nurses, 2 ladies out of the ICU, that was like, girl, you don't have no kids. Why you not traveling? I'm like, I do travel. I just came back from Vegas. What are you talking about? And they was like, no, travel nursing. And so that's how I started traveling. So with Black Nurses Week, it actually came from an experience while I was on a travel assignment in California, specifically in Silicon Valley. I was the manager of a emergency department, and I had been there for about 11 months. And I kid you not, and I'm not exaggerating, I was about the 20th something manager that they had come through there in like one to 2 years or something like that. And so no one was expecting me to, last. And so I just actually, and this is a unionized environment. So I was just like, what's the problem here? Like, why no one stays? What's going on? What do you all need? I'm an ER nurse too. Like, what do you need? So it was really just listening to the staff. Within that 11 months, I'm telling you, it was actually before then, maybe in like 5 or 6 months, we turned that whole, and I say we because it took the staff too, right? We turned that whole department around. Patient satisfaction scores went up, employee satisfaction scores went up, and hindsight, I think administration was so upset that this could be done without it being union versus management. And so that was the expectation over time that I learned that administration had issues with the union. Well, why do you have issues with the people who are servicing the patients within this organization? Have you even listened to what their issues are, what their problems are, what they're complaining about? Because if somebody is going to complain about something, that means that a need is not being met. Are you listening to them? Because I am. Anyway, I was offered the director of emergency services of that hospital. I was offered the permanent job and I turned it down. Do you really think that I'm about to take a permanent job for $225,000 a year when I'm working as a traveler and making almost double that? No, thank you. So they brought in a permanent person, which happens to be a Caucasian lady, which will make sense in just a moment. And when she came in, I never met this lady before I even heard that she had a problem with me. Well, how do you have a problem with me? I've been here for 11 months. A lot of the systems and things around here is because I came here and helped put them in place and held people accountable and things of that nature. She didn't like that I was working Monday through Thursday. Well, you know what? If you're the 20th something person to come through this department, eventually you get to name your own schedule. And that's what it was. I was getting paid hourly. She didn't like that. Of course you don't like it. I get paid more money than you do, honey. I know how much your job pays. It was offered to me first. She didn't like the relationship that I had with the staff. And one of the lead or the chief union rep worked in the ED. We were like this. How can we not be, And she had an issue with my appearance. And appearance as in I had like a curly tight fro, considered to be a natural hairstyle for a Black woman. And she said that my appearance was unprofessional. And that's what she told the interim director of the department at the time. And she told her to put it in my performance. And it was put in my performance, but not to that extent. It just put unprofessional appearance. And so, of course, I'm like, that's not right. I'm going to HR. You can't do that. So I went to HR. I filed my complaint. I did the EEOC. I did all the things. I contacted a lawyer. And the lawyer needed to basically talk to the interim that was there, which, by the way, was a Black woman who looked just like me, who wore her natural hair. And she refused to provide any information, said she didn't want anything to do with it. And so that's where it started. How long was I there? Actually, I think I still have old notes. I think I was there maybe like 3 or 4 weeks or so with this lady. She stopped giving me the things that I needed to do my job. So for instance, I was doing scheduling. We're in a unionized environment. I knew their union book forwards and backwards plus all side letters. I know when I need to have the schedule out and things like that. So like if we hired new people, we hired Adrian and Bridget, I need to figure out where I need to put you guys in the schedule, because not only are we going by seniority, there was also travelers there. But I needed to make sure you all as new employees, you get in before the travelers, stuff like that. She would send me all of the information I needed. Say I asked for it 2 weeks ago, she would send it to me today, knowing the schedule's due tomorrow. So she would do those type of retaliatory type things. And so I went back to HR. I said, when I first came and filed my complaint, you guys told me there would be no retaliation. These are the things that are happening. Nothing took place. There was no accountability there. So my contract ended up getting terminated for unsatisfactory performance, right? I've never had unsatisfactory performance at this place. I only had all the kudos and the accolades and all that type of stuff. And I remember that particular incident very well, because I ended up staying over. Remember, I'm an hourly employee. I ended up staying over because a physician was yelling at a nurse at the nurse's station, right when I'm supposed to leave. And so, of course, they come to me and they're like, Tauqilla, do you hear them? Like, listen to how he's yelling and cursing at me at the nurse's station. And of course, I go intervene. I call the house supervisor. Everybody was like scared of the providers there. I don't give a damn if you are RN, MD, DO, NP. I don't care. You do not get to yell and curse at anybody. And I'm present, and you think I'm not going to say something? Oh, no. I got something to say. So anyways, I intervened on that issue, and I end up staying over, not even quite an hour over my time. And insert, I am not that nurse that clock out and keep doing work. If I'm doing some work, I'm on the clock. And so anyways, she said that this new director said that I had unapproved overtime, although it was approved because the house supervisor told me to take care of it because she didn't come down there. And so that's why my contract was terminated. And so I knew what it was. It was because I went complain that, these discriminatory issues and talking about my appearance and my hair and all that stuff. And I went to HR. I know that's what it all was. And so that particular issue is when I quit nursing. I quit for 6 months. I was done. I was like, I'm from Texas. I've never been discriminated against. And I come to California, and what the hell? I'm being racially discriminated against because of my appearance, because of my hair, this retaliation. It was just at the time, it was heartbreaking for me, and it was disgusting because there's a woman that's supposed to be working with me to run this unit, walking around and nitpicking at my appearance and smiling in my face, but yet you're doing this nonsense. And so initially I was questioning God, like I don't know if I could put into words how much it hurt me and traumatized me for this to happen to me in a profession that I've been in I had to have been a nurse for at least 10 or 11 years. This was in 2017, by the way. And so I was questioning God. I was done. I was over it. And then that was in the beginning of that 6 months. But toward the end, I started saying, asking, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this experience? I know I'm not the only person that has dealt with this. If this is how, I can be treated, I know other Black nurses can be treated the same way. And so I literally woke up from a dream, and the dream was, what if there is a Black Nurses Week? What if there's something where all Black nurses can get together, be in community, talk about these things that are happening to us, stick together, and what are we going to do about it? And so that's initially where the idea of Black Nurses Week came from. From that, I call it a race-based traumatic experience. And that happened to me in California, in San Jose. So that's where the idea came from in 2017.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's a vulnerable story and a unfortunately not an uncommon one to have that experience. And, you know, I want to ask, coming from Texas, right? Because I've had my own thoughts about when I've worked with Black nurses from the South, and it's always been, oh, they're going to give management a run for their money, because you know, it's different, right? I grew up in South LA. But what were you surprised that this is happening in California? Did you have kind of a different expectation?
I did. And that's why I say, you know, I'm from Texas and I come way to California to be discriminated against. I did have a different, you know, expectation because California is so diverse. And so I absolutely did. But I must say that that particular nurse, even though this happened in California, was from New York. She was a New Yorker. But yeah, I was still shocked that it happened to me in California. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and I mean, I think I've not in California anymore. I'm in the DMV area east, but worked in Southern California. And I don't know if you know this about me. I was a union organizer for nurses and worked for the largest healthcare union in America for several
Oh,
years.
no.
So I might know the hospital you're talking of, you worked at.
Oh, well, there is no shame. It was at O'Connor Hospital in San Jose, but they've been bought out by the county now. So I think they're Santa Clara, something.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was O'Connor Hospital.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say one of the great things that I liked about the union, and unfortunately people in management positions didn't have benefit, was often it was leveling that playing field so that you had to stay unified with each other across lines that maybe you didn't agree with all the time, whether, you know, because you've got to support the contract, you've got to support, you may have, you know, it's about collaboration, right? And it sounds like you were doing an amazing job, and really as a manager, because oftentimes there is that adversarial expectation, and it's like, if you're not being adversarial, you're not towing the company line. But in all honesty, from a patient perspective too, the public, what is an adversarial relationship with your nursing staff and healthcare staff, EBS, whatever, kitchen, whoever? What kind of impact are you creating for patient care, as well as just the morale and the emotional bodies of your workers, your staff? It makes no sense.
I'll give you an example, because again, me and the chief union rep were very close. And at the time, that senior leadership, there was a meeting one time, right? And impromptu, not on the calendar. I'm the on the calendar person. I'm like, okay, what is this meeting about? The ask to me was to specifically go and do a chart audit on this ER nurse that just so happened to be the chief union rep. Okay, what am I auditing for? What am I auditing for? Am I auditing random charts of someone who came in with chest pain? And am I doing that on that nurse, Bridget, and Adrian? Or are you just asking me to go target this one nurse? Just in a, kind of feel of what the conversation went like. No, they wanted me to just go target this nurse. No, thank you. I will not. I have no reason to go do a chart audit on this one particular nurse. And so things like that, they didn't like. I'm not a yes person. If you want a yes person, you go find somebody else. Tauqilla's not it. I don't do nitpicking. I don't do unfairness. If there is an issue with someone and you are picking at them, you go pick by your damn self. Don't send me. Let me tell you, I will leave a job. It's too many jobs. You are not going to use me. I'm not your scapegoat. I'm not about to go pick on someone. We are supposed to be here to work together and take care of the patient. Whatever you all had going on before I got here, don't put me in it, and I'm not interested. And so those are things that were going on that I personally did not like. Now, most people like, oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm leaving. No, I'm not leaving because I see exactly what you all are doing, and I see why there are so many damn problems in this organization. And if I can remain and protect these people that are trying to take care of the patients that are coming in here, then I would do it to the extent in which I can. Like, I won't sacrifice my mental health and all of that nowadays to protect the whole unit. But at the time, that's exactly what I was doing. And that's the type of stuff that goes on. People know it happened, but nobody will speak up to it or say anything. Me, I'm fearless. What are you going to do? Fire me? Okay, bye. There's plenty of other jobs out there, but everyone doesn't have that mentality. They don't have the gall. They don't have the guts to even stand up and speak up for other people when they're not in the room. But those are the type of things that were happening at the organization at that time.
And it's frustrating because leadership will then turn around and say, we don't know why we have turnover. We don't know why we have such high attrition rates. And it's like, you're the problem. And they want to, the whole classic throw pizza parties and try to boost morale. But you mentioned before how you were listening to your staff. Like, staff will tell you what they need, and then leadership won't listen. And then they wonder why everything is in shambles and why people are leaving. And it's been so nice for me. And it's unfortunate that we don't have more people in leadership like you that are willing, are for the staff, because all these hospital systems are for patients, and that's great, but we also need to take care of our staff. We can't just be patient and abuse our staff, because then it trickles down to the patient too. So it's been so nice that where I currently work, I have such a great, and it's different because it's not a hospital, but it's still, my boss is amazing. She doesn't micromanage. She gives us autonomy. She listens. And that's the reason why I'm staying where I'm staying, even though it's a pay cut, because it is so refreshing when you work for someone that is actually a good leader.
And sometimes it's not always about the money, because you can go somewhere that pays more money and you don't get any of those things that you just talked about, but you are still going to, or it's still going to cost you. It's going to cost you your mental health. It's going to cost you your sanity. It's going to cost you all of those things that don't come in monetary value. So you have to pick wisely. Yes, it's a pay cut, but if you like that environment, it's a healthy environment, then by all means stay there, versus going somewhere that's paying $5, $6 more and you're getting treated like crap. They're not listening to you. You don't get your breaks. And I try to explain that to some of the younger nurses. And even on my last assignment, even like, texts and stuff like that. Oh, well, I'm going to this hospital because they pay $3, $4 more. And I'm like, you're leaving for $3 and you're going to drive an extra 10 miles. And what about traffic? And how much are their dues? People don't think about that. It's like, okay, it sounds all great, but let's do some math. And then let's make sure it makes sense. I'm not trying to keep you here, but have you done these things to make sure that this is the right move for you? Because if you leave, which is fine, and I hire someone else, don't you call me saying, I don't like it here, I want to come back. Well, I'm sorry, honey, your position has been filled. So that's a great point you bring up, Bridget. It's more than money. Is the environment healthy? Are they taking care of you? Are they listening to you? If you're not getting some of those basic necessities of working in healthcare, then you might need to look at your environment and see, is it really worth it?
And self-care, I mean, there's an emotional tax, right? We pay. And I've certainly been in those situations, and I'll have a lot more to say about that towards the end of the year. stay tuned. And
I got you. I hear you loud and clear.
But, you know, I worked in a hospital that I organized as a union organizer. Then I became a nurse. And the story is so wild. I'll make a video about the story. I won't go into it. But it was just unbelievable that I ended up going to work at a hospital that I had organized and taken on strike as a union organizer. And, you know, I was public enemy number one in that hospital as the chief steward, because of course everybody knew me. I knew all these workers. I mean, we're talking first name basis with over 700 people wall to wall that we had organized. So when you have that kind of relationship, and I say over and over again to nurse leaders have followers. A boss has a title. Leaders have followers. Who is following you? Because not every boss, every manager, every director has people who follow them, right? There's leaders and there's lepers, we used to say. And you know, it's so that in and of itself was the single biggest threat to administration, was that I could mobilize 2 hospitals, over 800 workers, you know, pre-social media, really, you know, like very quickly. And they just, I mean, they could never have that. They could never have that because they don't have the authenticity to have that. They don't have the commitment to have that, even just to have even like what you did is you created a relationship with people that then they were able, and you listened, and creating a relationship with people and being vulnerable and listening and saying, hey, let's solve this. Let's solve what we can, right? The low hanging fruit, and then work your way up. It's not rocket science, but if we come at it with an adversarial positioning, nothing is possible in an adversarial relationship with your staff, your team, your employees. I mean, it's kind of like, can you imagine if like, I don't know anything about sports, you guys, but like a football coach, right? Or somebody of a giant team is like, I can't stand these players. My job is to try and root them out and get the leader of the team, the quarterback, out and get them fired. I mean, how much sense would that make?
And pay them as little as possible and squeeze every ounce of productivity until they're dead, you know?
And then they leave and, oh my God, I don't know why he left. What?
Yep.
You should, I'm the one. Let me tell you why. Let me lay it out for you. You remember when you did this and you did this and you did that? Would you stay if that happened to you?
Right,
you know,
right. And the KPIs.
Yeah.
Oh, the KPIs, all the, you know, leapfrog, all that stuff, garbage. It's just garbage, right? And it's Medicare. You know, there's a lot of garbage in healthcare that has nothing to do with the care the patients get.
The KPIs, yeah, okay. Leah, let me keep people interested. Okay, I love going to those meetings, those quality improvement meetings in the boardroom. I've already done my homework before I get there. I already know what they're going to say. I already know that the staff need to do this and the staff need to do that. Well, you know what? The staff needs breaks. Okay, let's start there. If you want them to do X, Y, Z, why don't we have enough nurses to make sure that they can go on breaks? Why are you expecting the charge nurse to break the whole unit, break themselves, and run the unit? Can we get a break nurse, please? Oh, yes. That's going to cost money. Okay, well, let me show you how much money it costs for missed breaks compared to if you get a break nurse. Let me lay the math out for you. And this is not just an example. This is something that I actually did on one of my recent assignments. Let's do the math. Call the CFO in. Let's do the math. So you don't get to say what you need done so this number can go up when you're not listening to the staff. They're not getting breaks. They're missing breaks. They're working 12 hours. They hadn't went peed, pooped. They're walking around eating the nasty ass graham crackers out the nutrition room because they can't go sit down and eat their own food. And then you're mad because they're sitting at the nurse's station drinking and eating. And oh my God, here comes infection prevention. You can't have that at the desk. Please shut the hell up.
Amen to that. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, in California, there are fines associated with missed breaks and missed meals. So it's an hour pay penalty for a missed meal and an hour penalty for a missed break each day. So, yeah, I mean, basically when I worked for 12 years, I got paid 15 hours a day for 12 and a half hours. because then you get the 30 minutes. You didn't get your 30-minute break. So the 12.5-hour shift, that half hour is double time. And then you get an hour penalty pay for a missed break and a missed meal. It adds up.
Florida, well, so in Florida is a right to work state. So they could just fire you and there's no unions. And so in Florida, many of us felt the pressure of, what a lot of nurses did, which isn't right? People would clock out and go right back to working because they would make I believe, there were several nurses that were fired over, you're not taking your break. But like you were saying, Tauqilla, there's no break nurse. Like when I was a lifeguard here in Florida, we had a break lifeguard. Why is it that in nursing, when we're taking care of people's lives, there's not a nurse that comes in and just helps break nurses? So what we would have to do if someone did take a break is, oh, now I have my 6 patients plus another 6 patients of that other nurse, right? So now I have 12 patients while this nurse takes a 30-minute break. And so they would penalize us. They would make us feel like if we kept missing breaks, we're going to get fired. So what nurses would do, they clock out, still work, clock back in 30 minutes. They never got their break, but on paper, it looks like they got their break.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
It's a whole thing. That is a whole topic. Let me tell you. Well, we've already got like 5 more, episodes. So we have material here for sure. I love it. And we'll make them. Let's do it. But so out of this, you have this, traumatic experience, right? Let's just say we can all be strong. I'm a strong person. All of us are strong women. We're strong nurses. But we feel, right? Doesn't mean we don't have emotions, emotional body. And, when you're in those situations, you kind of feel like a punching bag. And there's a moral distress that goes on. Our amygdala is fired up. So you have this experience and you say, I'm going to do something. And out of that, you leave this position. And this is what, 2018? Is that what we're talking about now?
It happened October 2017. And so my 6 months of quitting nursing rolled over into 2018.
Okay. And then you decide, I'm going to make this Black Nurses Week. So you were like, I'm going to make some organization. Is that, tell me how this, nope, it didn't happen. Because then I know COVID's in here somewhere. So we got to get that in.
You know what? The idea obviously happened in 2017, right? Do you know I held on to that idea for 4 years? I did nothing with it, but just let it marinate in my brain. So I had the idea. I went Googled. I didn't find anything. And, I was doing this periodically. Now I have 3 nieces. At the time, the oldest one now, she would always say that she wanted to be a nurse, just like her auntie. And so she would say it periodically. And so every time she would say it, I would think of Black Nurses Week. I was like, oh, wow, what if she grows up and be a nurse and this happened to her? And so it's almost like I buried the idea, but every time that she would say it or, say something about, what she knows about me and nursing and how she wants to be a nurse, it's like I dig up a little dirt up off of the idea that I buried. And so, and every time I would go Google and I wouldn't find anything. And I was like, wow, I can't believe nobody is doing this. I can't believe nobody has a Nurses Week specifically just for Black nurses. And I'm like, it can exist outside of Nurses Week. We're going to celebrate Nurses Week and Black Nurses Week. And so I held on to it for 4 years. 2021, during COVID, I was on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. area, working as a team lead for COVID response for the DC government. And I was like, I don't know. It's time. I just felt like it was time. And in the midst of that, just seeing other things that are happening to Black nurses or working with other Black nurses and them saying like they had some kind of situation or experience where they were discriminated against. And that's when I said, it's time. It's time to bring it to fruition. And in 2022 was the inaugural Black Nurses Week conference that was held in DC, simply because I was over, in that area. And I'm not sure if y'all worked during the pandemic, but we couldn't go anywhere. I think they had like tabs on us. If we like left the area or flew out or anything like that, we would lose our position. So the first conference was in Washington, D.C. in 2022, and it's an annual occurrence. Black Nurses Week is July 26th through August 1st. And I always get the question of, well, why did you choose those dates? What's so special about those dates? Well, August 1st, 1879, that's when Mary Eliza Mahoney graduated from nursing school. So she's the first Black nurse in the United States. So I chose the dates leading up to her graduation date. So that's why I chose July 26th through August 1st for Black Nurses Week, because me and plenty of other nurses I've asked before, I wasn't taught about her in school. I learned about her after I graduated, many years afterwards. And so I just wanted to make sure that her legacy lives on. We don't forget about her, and also to educate other Black nurses about her. And so that's why I chose those dates.
Oh, that's great. I did not know that. And yeah, I mean, let's face it, I didn't learn a lot about nursing history and famous, people, especially Black nurses in history, like Mahoney, until TikTok, right? I mean, it was a lot of let's just face it, we learned a lot on TikTok, right? And really, or just even, I mean, let's just say like Sojourner Truth, right? The fact that, I mean, that's probably one of the most prominent, well-known, taught, at least for me in the 70s, per female in Black history. And, yet I don't remember ever learning that she was a nurse.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's, so that's amazing. So that's amazing. So, and then we met in 2022 at the Nurses March in DC.
Yeah.
So you were in DC at that time, and you came running up, hey, and I was like, yeah, right on. And, and I didn't know anything. I just kind of had heard of you and got familiar with you and through the team we were working with to put that event on. And so how many people came, and how did you spread the word that first year? How'd you get it out there?
It was pretty much word of mouth. I mean, there was there's Instagram, LinkedIn, and stuff like that. So it just popped up on social media. And the first year it was 65 people, I think.
That's quite a good turnout for the first year.
Yeah, and it was pretty much, word of mouth. And this year is going to be year 5. So still growing, still exploring, different avenues and different stuff like that. And I just, the fact that anyone shows up, the fact that people are so engaged and want to learn more. And there, even to this day, there's people like, what, we have a week? When? I've been a nurse for 10 years. I'm like, calm down. They hadn't even been around for 10 years. Okay. Like, chill out. But yeah, so yeah, people show up. And I just want to go back to the March when I met you, Adrian, because I really appreciate you. I appreciate you, Nurse Cass, and Nurse Nander. So I had this big trifold. I still have it. I did not throw it away. I did some cutouts with the little sticky glue thing and did the whole Mary Mahoney thing, the logo and all of that. And I had a string around my neck and I'm walking around with it. And you 3 ladies is like, oh, wow. And just completely blasted it on social media, where other people was like kind of looking at me like, what the hell is this? We already have Nurses Week. We don't need a Black Nurses Week, blah, blah, blah. And here it is, three non-deeply melanated ladies, okay? I want to say white, but I don't know that everyone is actually white. But they were like, oh, no, this is great, and like completely blasted it all over social media. So I greatly appreciate you for doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for saying that. And honestly, the privilege is ours, and all of us, we were just so stoked to be able to do that and to promote what you are doing and what you are doing and creating. And that's really, just so you know, the group of us and Nurse April, really foundational to our alignment and our beliefs and our values as a team, and just other projects that we worked on. And, it's just part of the fabric of all of us. And that's, I think, how we came together. in part. And, you know, it's just, that's part of my background. I mean, I'm half Mexican, but I look white, I read white. So I go by what's the privilege I get. That's what I tell people. What's the privilege I get? Where do I get sat in the restaurant? Okay, that's what I am, because that's the public, right? Is going to see. But I don't speak Spanish, so we all know I'm no sabe. So yeah, I know, just that's what they call us in California, no sabes. But yeah, so I mean, this is about amplifying, you know, people who are making changes and challenging, just creating challenges, but also creating opportunities and avenues and whatever that looks like. So I'm just so down with what you're doing, and excited about this. So tell us a little bit about the conference, because it's going to be in Tulsa. And is there some meaning around that location for you in choosing Tulsa?
Yes, there is. So last year was virtual, simply because, you know, personal issues. My mom needed to have surgery, and I'm not choosing a conference over my mom. And so that was virtual. So we're now back in person this year. And just a lot of decisions I make, and the theme of the conference comes from me just being in my alone time, in my thoughts, praying, and just asking God for guidance, and then just absorbing the Black nursing community, what people are saying, how they're feeling, and stuff like that. So this year's theme is restoring what's old. The more I learned something on a regular basis all the time. I learned stuff about, you know, a new Black trailblazer all the time, and then just go look at all their contributions, and if it's really being taught, you know, in school or to the general public, or who has then took their contributions to nursing and named it as their own. And typically it's a Caucasian white person or whatever that says, oh, they did this and they did that. No, you didn't, because the history says otherwise, right? And so restoring what's old. There's a lot that's owed to Black nurses. There's a lot owed to those that are no longer here that paved the way. The recognition is owed to them. They never got it. Will they ever? I'm not sure. But for me, I'm going to make sure that the contributions that Black nurses are putting into this profession, you do not get to go claim it. You don't get to whitewash it. We need to be recognized, and we are owed a lot. We're owed a lot for what we put into this profession. So for the theme, restoring what's owed, that's really where that came from. Just, you know, all of those things all in one. And then legacy, reparations, and the future of Black nurses. We have to keep our legacy alive. At this conference, and a lot of the attendees don't know, there's going to be a workshop. We're going to have a legacy workshop. When I'm no longer here, I don't need anyone trying to tell my legacy. I don't need them trying to make it up and fill in the gaps. I'm going to document it. And so I can give it to my niece. I can give it to this museum or to this college. Here's the legacy that needs to be put out there for the public. I don't need anybody to make it up for me. And so restoring what's old, legacy, reparations. Oh yeah, we need our reparations. Will it be money? Probably not in a literal sense. No one's going to pay us. Is it going to be our 40 acres and a mule? No. But there's different ways that you can get reparations. And we're going to talk about that at that conference. And then just the future of Black nursing. All these things that have happened in the past, they will not continue to happen going forward. Absolutely not. There's a lot of people who are afraid of like retaliation and, you know, afraid of putting themselves out there to advocate for us. And when I say us as Black nurses, I'm not that person. I'm literally fearless. What are you going to do to me? And I just need other Black nurses to know that I don't care what you've been through in other organizations and other communities, but the racism, the retaliation, the discrimination, all those things that we deal with, the microaggressions, we do not have to put up with that shit. And if they're not smart enough to know how to go through it and to handle those things, then that's where I come in, because not only do I have a lot of knowledge from education, I have a hell of a lot of knowledge from experience. What happened to me in 2017? Oh, I've learned a lot. And I incorporate that into practice when I work. Hence, you know, again, the master's degree, working in leadership. I don't work bedside anymore because I can move the needle a hell of a lot more, you know, being in leadership. And I definitely get a kick out of being in leadership, because when everyone is sitting at a table thinking like everything is all fine and dandy, no. I'm sorry. I just like being in rooms where, you know, you need to do X, Y, Z, and everyone else is like, okay. And I'm like, oh, no. And I pull out my paper. I'm like, so you said X, Y, Z. And nurses are saying blah, 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 you know. So anyway, I love what I do. And so that's the theme for 2026, Restoring What's Owed, Legacy, Reparations, and the Future of Black Nursing. And we're going to Tulsa, Oklahoma, because it is home of the Black Wall Street. And if anyone doesn't know anything about the Tulsa Massacre, I encourage you to go read about it, because that time has shown us that Black people can get together, circulate their Black dollars, and enhance their own community. It was done. It was documented. And white people came through and they burned it to the damn ground. And so that's
done in many cities, many places across America. Yes. 1921. So look it up, you guys. You know, this is all of our history as Americans, you know. I mean, that's how I approach especially Black history and Indigenous history. I mean, I grew up in a way that there was no separation from that. And, you know, I had to learn Black history as a child. It was compulsory in my household. So that's another, again, more interesting pieces of my own personal history. But this is really important. And I think but the thing is, like, about nurses, specifically Black nurses, the contribution of Black nurses in America and internationally, right, is so important as really the founders of modern nursing, contrary to what, you know, we're often shown as the photo, or who is the person is like the mother of nursing, right? And it's important. And I think what you're talking about, Tauqilla, and what we talk about a lot, or people we have on that we've talked with, is people challenging the status quo and saying, hey, let's step up, let's look at reality, let's you know, remove the veil, right, on this topic, and let's empower people, right? Empower a group of people, you know, whoever it may be. And I think, like, what you're talking about is so important. And yeah, I mean, I obviously, when, you know, I saw what you're doing in Tulsa, I was like, wow, that's awesome. You know, and there's so much history there. And again, you know, for many of us, many people in America may not have known all these little bits of history, Black history, without social media in the last couple of years, giving us these snippets here and there. Because really finding this information, I mean, I have a minor in Black studies. So, you know, we're talking journals, books, you know, you had to really go look for it in the 90s when I was in college. And, you know, now it's so much easier to find information. So I really encourage our viewers, anybody watching this, to really, you know, do some searches, make yourself aware. And how can people support? You know, I think this is the other thing, right, that I think of a lot, because I don't, you know, I'm gay, in case anybody didn't know that. But
You're
how
gay?
do we, I know, coming out
Ricky, did
today.
you know? Girl, I did not
I have no
know.
idea.
But I often feel like I don't fit because I'm, you know, not in the Mexican culture. I'm an ally. A lot of us are allies, and how do we support? And so, you know, what I wanted to ask too, for folks watching, is how do allies support your mission here with Black Nurses Week? How, I mean, you know, Bridget we all have our own spheres. We promote, you know, what you're doing. put it out there, put tags, links. But how do we support Black nurses, and how do we support Black Nurses Week in your organization?
Thank you. Great question. Well, doing this right here is great support because you're letting the ones that, follow you in your work, and Bridget, the ones that follow you in your work, just even having this session is letting them know, oh, wow, there's a Black Nurses Week. Let me go over to their page and be nosy and go to the website and see what they're doing. So that is support. Support is not always money. Just telling someone or sharing the information, that is great support, and I appreciate it. A way that nurses that are non-Black that can support other Black nurses is, I'll give an example. Like if you're working on a unit and you see that another nurse is being discriminatory or, singling them out, any of those microaggressions and things like that, don't sit back and that has nothing to do with me. No, speak up. It's wrong. And if you sit there and you watch it happen, then guess what? You're just as wrong. So that's how other nurses can support Black nurses, because this happens a lot in the workplace. And then when that Black nurse try to go speak up for themselves, and that whole thing about angry Black woman, but it also can be passed over as a nurse. When that nurse goes to complain about the situation, it's usually just their word against everyone else's word. Not that, the other nurses, they seen it, but they're just like going in cahoots with that other nurse just because, they want to avoid conflict. No, you need to speak up. And that's why, again, people they leave jobs, they end up with mental health issues, because that's a lot of heaviness to, have those things happen to you and no one speaks up for you. So it's like you're there alone. You're supposed to be a team, but you're there alone. Nobody's speaking up for what's wrong. And so that to me is a way to, support Black nurses in those spaces, because I'm telling you, it happens all the time. And usually Black nurses don't say anything because you know what? They don't want to get fired. That's what they're worried about, because that's what normally happens. No, say something. Don't let people do that. And so that's a way that you can support Black nurses in general, or even just asking them, how's your day going? I mean, you can do this for anyone, but usually when you see a Black nurse just kind of like isolated, sitting to themselves, not talking that much, something has happened. And they don't feel comfortable, being in the community with the other nurses or sitting at the nurses station and chitty chat. No, something has happened and they're afraid to say something. They don't want to lose their job. So that's how I feel like, the bare minimum, it doesn't cost anything to support Black nurses.
The speaking up, right. And it's like Audre Lorde, the famous lesbian Black poet Audre Lorde, said, your silence will not protect you. Right. Don't be complicit, speak up, be an advocate, be an ally, and just even asking somebody, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Right. And reaching out, because, we have to support each other. And as nurses too, I just want to add in, and I appreciate you saying that, Tauqilla, we see racism and discrimination or bias with our patients as well. And this is why it's all interconnected, because if we're quiet about our colleagues, then we're also being quiet about our patients. And that, it can just be, it's just insidious, and it is important that we do speak up. And many of us, I mean, obviously I have a big mouth. I'm pretty courageous on that level, but I think it's not the reflex for everybody based on just personality types as well. But it's important to stretch ourselves and be uncomfortable, because if we have privilege, we need to utilize that privilege to be an ally in any way, shape, or form we can, to help others and to advocate and to bring light to somebody's situation and to offer support. I think that's so important. So important.
And it
And
goes both ways. Talking to nurses all the time, especially in leadership, and they go Google you and look you up and all of that. And some have asked, well, you have Black Nurses Week. Does that mean that you don't support nurses that are not Black? And I have to say, well, I don't know. You tell me, have I supported you while I was here? And sometimes I bring up situations. Just because, I'm the founder of Black Nurses Week, don't get it twisted. If I see something whether it's Black nurses that are like doing something that is not right, and that nurse is white, Caucasian, Hispanic, whatever, guess what? Your ass getting called out too. That is not what we do. And same for patients. And you make a good point. Like, I've had patients that says, I don't want the N word. Get out of here. I don't want to. Go give me a white nurse. Okay, cool. I go get a white nurse, and they come in, and I tell them the situation, and I'll never forget. She come in and she said, yeah, I heard that you no longer want Tauqilla for your nurse because you call her a derogatory name. And they repeated it. And she says, well, I'm sorry. She's the best nurse on the unit. And I am, I'm the nurse that could be your nurse, but I'm not going to be your nurse. You're going to take her. She's the one. So they come in and they, talk me up, and they don't take the patient. And that's another way of support. And again, vice versa, because I've had patients that say, they didn't want the white nurse. Okay, why not? I go talk to them. I'm sorry. No. This is a great nurse. She's meeting your needs. Just because she didn't give you Dilaudid, that doesn't mean she's a terrible nurse. You don't have Dilaudid ordered. You don't get to talk to her like that. So it's like, everybody can get checked. I don't care. Patient, nurse, CEO, CNO, everybody can get checked. Don't be nasty in this profession.
Tauqilla, what do you attribute your assertiveness and your fearlessness to? Is it a combination? Were you born this way? Were you raised this way? Is it a combo?
Girl, I'm the oldest. Okay, that number one. I'm the oldest, and there was a time in my teenage life that I was raised in the family. I'll say that. There was a time where I was raising my brother. My dad, rest his soul, he passed away. He was just working, and my mom was not around for about a year. And it was me. I made sure the bills was paid. I was cooking. I was making sure I was keeping good grades, that my brother also was keeping good grades while she was not around. That was 15, 16. So I had to learn and make sure things were still afloat. And so that carried into my adulthood. And so I'm just embracing it. Why change it? I'm so used to it. I'm so used
100%,
to it.
100%.
And I guess, when you see, situations where it's like, oh, wow, you're not going to say nothing. You're not going to take up for yourself. Things like that. Even, I guess I could go back into elementary school. I remember how teachers talked to me, how, they were rude and nasty to me. And I told my mom, and she come up there and wreak havoc at that damn school. I was watching. So that carried over into my adulthood. It's working out very well. I love it.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that being the oldest, I'm an only child. Bridget, where are you at in your family?
I'm the oldest, and I was, growing up, my mom didn't speak English, so I was always having to translate for her. I always felt like as advocate defending, and so it's actually hard to. I kind of have some of the traits that like Tauqilla has, where it's just like, I'll say it how it is. I don't care. And sometimes I feel like that's gotten me in trouble.
It can, it can. It depends on how you say it. But,
I think the times are changing, but being young, like on my report card, my teacher would write, she's bossy, right? But then again, we go to, if it was a man, it would be, they're a leader, right? Yeah. So because I was telling people what to do, I'm bossy. Or so it was like, again, you talked about societal roles, and from very little women, we are taught these societal roles. Like, we're not supposed to be leaders. We're supposed to be followers, and our goal should be to get married. Like, I think it's so, I think it's discouraging. We should celebrate achievements more. Like, everybody was so worried about when are you going to get married? And everybody's so happy when I got married, but nobody celebrates educational achievements as much as like it's like they want to celebrate marriage as if that's the end all be all. but nobody gets as happy
Mhm.
when you get a new degree. Why don't we celebrate with that same enthusiasm, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, a lot of us as nurses are also very strong individuals, strong-willed individuals. Often, and we see with our patients too, right? Like, who's the child in the family, who's the caregiver with that patient, right? Who's,
Mhm.
who were we in our configuration of our families? And, there is a price you pay when you speak up, but like for me, and I have a feeling for you guys too, it's like there's not another option, honestly. And especially as I get older, I'm like, I feel like still I'll throw down with if I have to. You know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
just I'm not gonna allow anybody to be abused in front of me, disrespected, uh, scapegoated, bullied. I just
Mhm.
did not grow up that way, and I grew up not in a great neighborhood, and I'm a Gen X, right? I lived the stereotypical Gen X, like kid life on our own, doing things our own, figuring things out. And, I think that also informs a little bit of my own personality. But in general, like it's important for us to speak up. Courage is not easy. It is
Mhm.
not an easy thing. And I think empowering, especially younger nurses of color, younger women of color, black male nurses, right? People that are really in the minorities, right? Because look, I can probably ask all of you guys, I could ask 10 nurses, what was the ethnicity of your nursing professors? And it was pretty
Mhm.
standard. I know when I went to nursing school, pretty much, and the people that didn't fit in on the whiteness scale, they were scapegoated in my own nursing program. I saw those professors, the younger professors of color coming in. So it is just important that we create the space, right? And again, I say for we, meaning me as a person of privilege, right? That we do what we can to create space that if it's me modeling to, LGBTQ individuals, right? I'm going to always be out because I want to make that space. I've been out since I was 13. Every job as a nurse, every job I've ever had, I'm like, let me just declare this now so there's no gray area. So we're not going to have any awkward, weird conversations. And it's just out there. Right. And also, by the way,
Mhm.
don't say any stupid racist things either. And, because we're not putting up with that. I'm not the space for that. So I just think it's important just to put it out there and live through that. So any way we can encourage people and be models for that is so important. So I really appreciate both of you guys. I appreciate you, what you're doing, Tauqilla. And how many people what is your goal? What is your goal for turnout at the conference?
With it being back in person, because of last year being virtual, I don't have a goal. If two people showed up, it's happening. Because I don't focus on who doesn't come. I focus on who does come. And if
Right.
two people showed up, oh, we're about to have a blast. We're gonna
Right.
have a blast. But I guess if I had to put a number on it, like goal wise, I would love to be at least 100 nurses in the room.
That's great. 100
100 nurses.
nurses. So if you're
Mhm.
out there, you're watching this, be one of the 100 that shows up. Get your ticket now. Sign up now. Get on there. I put the link is in the comments. It's showing up here for Black Nurses Week Conference 2026 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going to wrap it up a little bit, you guys. Any
Real quick,
final
Tauqilla,
thoughts? Go ahead.
so I know you said it was in person, but is there also an online option, or is it only going to be in person?
No, so I did add a virtual option, and no one has signed up for the virtual yet.
Okay.
I've been thinking about taking it
I'm
down.
gonna share it with my students because one good thing I like about my university is I have a huge black student nurse population. So I'll share it with them
Mhm.
too.
But let me just, before we leave, let me just tell you why. COVID, obviously we had to go to work, if you're a nurse that worked during the pandemic. But during COVID, everyone, like, we were on those restrictions. We weren't in community. We wasn't like out and interacting with people. And so, yes, okay, COVID is over. I don't think people have fully got back into that getting out interacting with people in person. So that's why I never had a virtual option. Obviously last year we had no choice, but that's why. Because no, we need to be in the same space. We need to love on each other in person. And so that's why there was really never a virtual option. I want to see you. I want to hug you that first morning. I want to pat you on the back. You know, if someone's, you know, speaking, and people get emotional during some of these speaking topics and whatnot. I want to take a picture with you. Yeah, girl, come on, let's take a selfie. So that's why, because I think that in-person community type feeling, that whole vibe is very important. So that's why. But we will have one. So because you said that, then I'll make sure it stays there.
But I agree with you. There's no replacement for in person.
Yeah. And I hope that people that are out there that work in schools and teaching environments can spread this to nursing students. If you're in any chat groups or organization, WhatsApp, Facebook groups, whatever, please throw that link in there and make sure that you spread the word, because this is important that we create a foundational opportunity for, you know, new nurses coming up, Black nurses, so that they can just come right into this organization and be part of the Tauqilla team, right?
Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed the chat with both of you, Bridget, Adrian. Thank you for taking time out on your Saturday to talk with me.
Valentine's Day.
I have a feeling we're going to have some more. We'll have some more chats, and we're going to wrap it up, you guys. So wherever you're watching, make sure you subscribe, follow, like the video, and leave a comment. Again, where are you viewing from? And please make sure you follow all of us on our socials. And thanks so much. Any last final words, Bridget, Tauqilla? All right. I'm going to end. Thanks.
Thank you.